Hello there. This is General Grievous, and you are watching the Cantina Club.
Scum and villainy, it's a wretched hive. But life ain't always teddy bears, fireworks, and high fives. The folks round here don't care for sand. Stick around long enough.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Cantina Club. This week we're going to discuss the latest episode of Disney Gallery's Mandalorian, behind the scenes on season 2, episode 8, the return of spoiler Luke Skywalker, and we'll get right into that topic right after this. Don't go anywhere.
We all know round here, Solo always does shots first. Singing Yum Num, raise your glass, and sing Yum Num. Sing it with me, Yum Num.
I feel it.
At the Cantina Club.
All right. We're back. I always forget introductions, even though I have the names there. I am Grand Moff Traitor. Yes, I've been promoted. This other guy over here
promoted.
Hey, promotion's a promotion. This other guy over here is our resident Rodian Greedo, and then we also have an earless Gundark with us. So
she's one-eared.
Yeah, well, yeah, she varies. Sometimes she doesn't have any. Sometimes she has one. Sometimes it grows back and
half pulled.
Gets pulled off again. Okay, so we're going to start this episode first with our usual Veracruz segment. Anything that new that we might have gotten in the interim since our last recording. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first real quick because it's just an action figure.
All right,
I found it the other day. Stumbled across it.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
nice.
the Black Series.
Yeah, bring it down a little bit. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, just trying to show. I get reflections
Yeah,
too
that's
much,
good.
but yeah, he's got the
Jetpack.
different weaponry.
Yeah,
And
you
it
can
says
get the plastic flames.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it says it's Return of the Jedi, but it's the 6-inch figure, and
Nice.
ran across
Yeah,
that.
I love Black Series figures. Those are so great.
Yeah, I figured I better grab it because exclusives have been, it's a Walmart exclusive, I think, and they've been very hard to find anything. It's the first new thing on our shelf in like
no kidding.
3 months or something. So I knew it would be gone if I didn't get one.
And you got the Mandalorian one too, right? The Black Series. It was what, like Target exclusive or something?
Yeah. There was a Target exclusive.
I remember you
with
told
that,
me that. I think I went like the next day to my Target and they had absolutely nothing. So
yeah, I think it was the Mandalorian and Child.
Mm-hmm.
And amazingly, the box is actually in decent shape.
Good.
Coming from Walmart. Right. Usually they run their box cutter like savagely through the
right
whole box.
You
You slice across all of them. So
exactly.
Gotta take that when you can get it.
All right, what you got for us, Gundark?
Now I'll let Grandma go next.
Oh, you want me to go? Okay.
Yeah.
I got a couple of little things, nothing major, but I actually got this little thing, this little ornament, snack time.
Snack time.
That's cool.
Oh, that was cool. Little guy there. Then latest, I just picked this up a few days ago, the latest issue of Star Wars Insider.
Oh, cool.
Hello there.
Oh, wow.
And also, again, a shocker, I got a t-shirt. But got a bad
Oh,
batch.
that's nice.
Yeah, it was
good.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's really neat.
Yeah, very cool.
Cool.
So that's my Veracruz this week. Now what you got for us, Gundark?
I got something related to the theme of our episode today, and this is actually a gift for Greedo, but I thought I'd go ahead and show it.
For me.
Yes,
Nice.
I got this
Oh,
as a
wow.
gift for Greedo from the Disney store, a pre-order months ago, and it finally came.
Okay.
It's Luke Skywalker and the child with R2-D2 in
That's
the
cool. I
final
love it.
episode of season 2 of
Nice.
Mandalorian. Bobbleheads.
Bobbleheads.
Yeah.
Nice.
Can you
I love
see
it.
Yeah.
You may or may not get re-gifted that.
I know. I was kind of hoping maybe I could get re-gifted it, but no, you did. I got that
just
for you. I
I
got
have
that
too
for
many.
you.
I had too many around, so I'm like, you might get re-gifted that sooner rather than later.
Well,
But it's very that's cool. That is very cool.
very cool. All right, so now we're going to move into Rancor Pit or Cloud City, our recommendations segment where we talk about shows that we recommend or it's not to our taste. So who'd like to go first this week?
I'll go.
Okay.
I have a Cloud City.
Okay.
I just finished watching on Netflix the Nordic noir series Katla.
What's it called?
Katla, Katla.
Okay.
It's set in Iceland, and it's a paranormal mystery about a town next to a volcano in Iceland that is pretty much abandoned when the volcano erupts. It erupts like every few centuries. And the latest eruption, most of the people have moved away from the town, but there are a few key families left. And the eruption is accompanied by weird arrivals of people that seem to be emerging from underneath the glacier at the volcano. And it becomes really strange and cool, noir type mystery with a supernatural.
I've never even heard of that. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, and it's on Netflix. It came out over the summer, and I had it on my list. I just hadn't had a chance to watch it until now. And it's really good. It's 8 episodes. Seen it all. And very enjoyable, spooky, beautiful, creepy cinematography, and some good performances.
Very nice. Sounds good.
Katla.
Katra?
Yeah. It's the name of the volcano.
K-A-T-R-A?
K-A-T-L-A.
L-A, Katla.
Yeah.
Okay,
Katla.
Mm-hmm.
cool.
All right, you got
I guess I want to throw a bunch of stuff to the Rancor because he's hungry. Just real quickly.
He's been hungry a while.
So stuff like we tried to watch recently, Wonder Woman 84. The Rancor is going to choke on this thing.
Oh no.
That was
I don't know whether to like certain elements of it or not, but overall it was just grotesque and poorly done for some reason, and it makes me quake with fear for the Rogue Spotter movie, but because the same director evidently wrote it and everything. And then also what was the other thing I was gonna throw the What If Marvel series overall is certain episodes the Rancor can feast upon just greatly, and there was the first 2 episodes basically. Let's just, to be honest, it was the Guardians of the Galaxy. What's this? Black Panther. That's what it is. The Black Panther Guardians of the Galaxy crossover was horrible. Which is sad. It was so sad for me because of obvious reasons. But I couldn't stand it. It was so bad. And but anyway, they kind of made up for it. They had a Doctor Strange episode that was probably like a carbon freeze, but it was overall pretty good. And then they had a great one this last week called What If Zombies, where a zombie plague gets unleashed in the Marvel universe. And it had a lot of dark humor and was grotesque and a lot of stuff I didn't think they would do. And so it kind of redeemed the whole thing a little bit for me. So that one episode was a Cloud City, but most of the other was not. Oh, and then the last thing into the pit is the movie Reminiscence with Hugh Jackman. I keep saying Sarlacc, but the Rancor, you can throw that in the Sarlacc. Rancor pit might be full. He's like, he can only eat so much. So throw that in a Sarlacc. It was beautiful movie, good actors and stuff, but the sum of the parts stunk. So watch at your own risk. It's new.
All right. Very
brilliant.
Good. So we finally fed the Rancor. It's been a while.
Yes, and the Sarlacc.
He's starving to death slowly.
The Sarlacc, ironically, can feast for 1,000 years on a movie called Reminiscence.
Right.
So 500 years from now, I can reminisce on the Reminiscence,
Exactly.
The taste of Reminiscence.
All right. Okay, so I have a Cloud City for this episode as well. This is a show I've been told about for a couple of years now. At least I think it premiered in 2017. We're about 3 seasons in with 2 more on the way. And I've always heard people rave about it, so they loved it. It was great, and I was just kind of okay, whatever, I'll get to it. And I finally did, and I absolutely love it. Cobra Kai on Netflix,
Oh,
which actually started on, well, I think one of the reasons why I delayed watching because it was on YouTube. It was a YouTube original, I think, originally, or something like that, and I never had the YouTube pay channel, so I just kind of put it off until it went to Netflix. So I watched it. I absolutely love this thing. So those of you who aren't familiar, this is obviously based on the Karate Kid movies from the 80s. And it's in current day. It's basically the same characters. What are they doing like 30 years later kind of thing. It's the same cast is back. Ralph Macchio, plays Daniel LaRusso. William Zabka plays Johnny Lawrence, his nemesis that was from the original film. Martin Kove plays Sensei John Kreese. It's like all these characters, all these actors are back or reprising their roles. Plus, we've got new characters, obviously playing the younger, sort of versions, as it were, of them. And it's really good. It's a kind of show that it doesn't take itself seriously. I mean, it does to a certain point, but not too much. If it did, it would ruin it. Because they have so many 80s throwbacks, obviously, because that's when these films were made. And like for instance, Johnny Lawrence's character still drives around in an old Firebird, and still listens to the same music. It's like hair metal and stuff like that. It's like he literally was frozen in 1984 and still lives that lifestyle. But anyway, it's a really well done show. It just sucks me in, and I absolutely love it. It's definitely a binge-worthy show for me. I can watch 3-4 episodes in a row, and they're actually short episodes. It's not hour-long episodes even. They're all about 25-30 minutes each.
Have you seen any of that, Gundark?
yeah, I've seen the first, I think, 2 episodes. I think you showed one of them to me back when they were on YouTube, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, a big part of the fun is when if you kind of watch it without spoilers and the way they bring certain characters in and things like that, which, we all saw that movie, I think, when we were, kids, for the most part, young people, and enjoyed it, but we weren't like, we had a lot of movies to see back then.
Right.
So,
I thought it was okay, but I never,
it was good.
I never was like, oh, this is so amazing, Karate Kid,
It spawned that kind of cultural, Daniel-san and all that. It spawned that kind of thing where everybody does the crane move and all that.
Yeah.
The fact they can make a sequel without Pat Morita and still have it be interesting, just shows, if you write well and you let the actors do things. Because the series, again, I was kind of bringing up earlier about, or later in their episode, I'm looking in the future. The series looks kind of cheap at times, it definitely has a budget stuff, but the writing and the actors, they have so much fun with it that you allow that and you go along with it,
Yeah. So anyway, I definitely recommend Cobra Kai on Netflix. Check it out. It's a nice, especially if you're from our generation and you saw those movies back in the day. It's a nice throwback. All right. Okay. So like I said, for this episode, we're going to be discussing and doing a few reaction videos for the Disney Gallery episode of the final episode of The Mandalorian for season 2, The Return of Luke. And we're going to get into that right now. All right.
I find that the emotions run very deep with Star Wars, and people's relationship, especially people who grew up with it from a young age, feel a lot of connection to it.
No, I feel no connection to it.
I think the one consistent thing I'm feeling is that people care deeply that it's being handled correctly and that it's being handled respectfully. It meant so much to them, and they want to see it.
And I needed to know, because I've had a long relationship with John, and I said, are you being serious right now? Is this real? You're bringing the guy back? And he said, we're bringing the guy back.
We're bringing the guy
John
back.
sanctioned this into, so I'm going to say this for the first time in probably 15 months to 2 years.
If there's one person in the galaxy that you would be okay taking this kid from The Mandalorian, it's got to be Luke. Usually John and I tend to think if he and I are aligned on something like that.
When they said they were going to use the de-aging process they used in the Marvel movies, I was just gobsmacked. I didn't answer right away. I mean, I had to think about it, but the more I thought about it, I thought this is like really an opportunity that was completely unexpected, but something that almost was a responsibility. In other words, if they're saying they want me to do this, How can I say no?
Hold it together, Gundark.
The holidays. This would have been December 2019. John and I.
Seeing that makes me want to see more of him now playing the character. You know,
Make
not
more,
just
see more what?
now. I want to see him now playing the character.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like I just still feel ripped off that he died in the movies. You know, that the character
Yeah.
died in the movies. That there was still more to do
so
with
much
that
more they could
character. I
have done
feel
with
like.
the character. Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like people always underestimate Mark for some reason and that character for some reason. Like I don't know why. It just feels like it. I know a lot of fans think he's too overhyped and they get annoyed with people like us that want to see more of it or whatever. You know, it's old, it's over, but they, you know, they're going off a lot of stuff in pop culture and not the content in the movies.
Yeah.
You know, not the content in the media that you can watch. The characters in those 3 movies, and then he has 1 second in The Force Awakens, and then he has a bunch of scenes where he's struggling in The Last Jedi until he kind of, you know, starts coming around at the end. But again, it just to the fans of the character, there's not enough out there really.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion, and that's why the end of that episode was so great, and the fact they could. I didn't realize how far ahead they planned that. If what they're saying is true, you know, that for at least 2 years. Yeah, they showed Mark the episode before it premiered of the first episode.
The very first
Yeah,
episode of the show. Yeah.
they were thinking about it back then. It's crazy. So,
Did they say that they had talked to him about it then, or they were just planning and that's why they brought him in and showed it to him? I can't remember what they said.
They said that that was the plan and they wanted him on board with it.
I think they used that as an intro.
That's
for him,
December that was December of 2019.
So we wondered about this when we saw that episode. Remember, we were reviewing it. We wondered how long had they planned on this? Did they have it in their minds from the very beginning? That's fascinating to find out if they did.
Yeah, that really is.
And that makes it all the more miraculous it didn't leak, which is still boggles the mind. I can't believe I didn't hear a single substantiated anything more than just people speculating, like going, "Which Jedi will it be?" You know, right. I never heard any source saying, "I know for a fact," or "This is this." You know, here's an image. Here's something.
Right.
We put it together. You know,
there's evidence that it's going to be Luke.
Yeah, you think that with Star Wars there'd be people like watching Mark's schedule and like Mark went to this place for, but they did it. They did it in a day, which sounds very clever too. I mean, they just hit it.
Yeah, they said they did that for secrecy too. It's like fewer times you had to come to set and more, fewer eyes.
And it looks less suspicious, like if he's coming to do a voiceover and all that or whatever, and do voice work, and then they get all this done in one day. So people are thinking, surely they can't shoot a whole scene with him and all this that goes into it in one day, so people wouldn't raise their eyebrows at that.
Yeah. And I thought it was the way they said they also scheduled it at the same time as they were shooting a different episode over in Simi Valley. Right. So like the bulk of the crew was over there, not even at the shoot, so they had the absolute bare minimum on set that could have even spoiled it, which is a great idea.
What did you think, Gundark? I want to hear more of your...
Gosh, I began to seeing Jon Favreau tear up. I was already tearing up before he even got to that point.
Right.
And seeing, I wasn't prepared to see the older Mark Hamill in the Black Jedi outfit and to imagine the older Luke that way. And to think about, I liked too about what they said that they had in their minds, their desire to see what Luke would be doing after Return of the Jedi, whenever he had just first reached the height of his Jedi powers. Is something that we've so longed for.
Yeah.
And to be able to get little inkling of that at the end of that episode, it was cool to think that they were trying to achieve that too. But seeing him on that set in the outfit and then seeing him with the Baby Yoda puppet and then the moment when he picked it up, the guy handed it to him from below the screen and he's pilot, and he went like this.
Yeah, exactly right.
I didn't even notice that.
It's like a baby. It just automatically evoked a response from him of tenderness. It was just, oh golly.
And I think Mark does have some kind of weird relationship with the Yoda puppet. I mean,
Yeah.
that sounds
Yeah,
weird
that
to
dates
say
back
out
to
loud.
Well, he had to
1979.
act him. He had to
But-
act against it as a real
Yeah,
human.
and
as
if
a
you
real
watch
creature.
the behind the scenes stuff from The Last Jedi, I think it was moving to him to have the puppet in person with Frank
Yeah.
Oz there with him, you know, on set again.
Mhm.
It's got to be weird having those flashbacks to a whole summer or whatever spent
Sure.
however weeks on a set with people under the set and a puppet on top of the set, and
Mhm.
you know what I mean. It
Absolutely.
a big part of his life, and Empire was when one of his kids was born, I think, and all this stuff. So it's got to have all these memories attached to it. You know, not just, you can't even imagine in his position what that's like, you know. So
Oh, sure. Well,
So,
you even said that was a big deja vu moment for him too. You know,
mhm.
just acting with the child, you know, because it
Yeah.
just took him back to acting with Yoda, because he was basically the only actor that ever did that back then. You know, he was the only person who was on screen with him, other than
And
you know, Ghost Obi-Wan.
yeah,
You know?
and when you watch the prequels, I can't think of another character that had a closer relationship to Yoda than Luke did.
Yeah.
As far as I mean, Yoda trained a bunch of younglings and he treated them a certain way, and he was a grandfatherly figure, whatever. But the struggle that those characters kind of shared at that point in time, with him being the last student, and then the struggle for Yoda to accept him and all the stuff they went through, you know, they were just like this close during his training and stuff.
Absolutely.
And so in a way, Luke is kind of like Yoda's grandson, spiritual grandson or something. And so to take this creature that we don't know to the relationship to Yoda, but represents obviously the same potential, right? Or they wouldn't have it
Right.
exactly like a young Yoda. So there's the potential there for that, to have a legacy like Yoda or something. So to have Yoda's spiritual grandson and Yoda's new great grandson, or the inheritor of his potential or whatever,
Yeah.
is pretty cool. I haven't really thought about that until they were talking about this kind of stuff in this behind the scenes. But it would have been really funny if Luke had slung out a backpack and put him on the back and just walked away with him. Like, yeah,
That would have been funny.
if the Yoda had climbed up on the baby Yoda had climbed up on his back, just like it was natural or whatever. But yeah, that was very cool. I would love to see an interview with the guy. Did they say his name was Max, who played Luke?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
He looked so entirely calm in all of his shots. I don't know how anybody that keeps from freaking out in that situation. He's standing there next to Mark too, and he's just like, he's so focused, obviously, on what he's doing, and when he's swinging the saber and all that. You got to admire that the moment wasn't too big for him or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And then how do you go home and not tell everyone?
Did they not bring him onto the set until the day they were going to film with Mark? I didn't quite. I wasn't.
Well, they said.
I was just so.
Well, no, they said that they filmed
astonished.
other stuff. They said that they filmed other stuff with him, like as a diversion. So they brought the actor in, filmed other things with him to make everybody think he's a totally different. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
I was just saying, I think from my impression, I could be totally wrong, but I think they filmed shots with him with the cast. You know, like when the cast was reacting to someone coming in the room. I think those were done with him, and then he came back to do the stuff on an isolated set with Mark.
Right.
With Mark,
Because at that point, they're probably still saying, "Oh, well, this is Plo Koon. He's just the body double for Plo Koon. We're going to animate the head and put the face on and all that kind of stuff." And then later, it turns out to actually be that he's.
It's funny to think what the cast, like we got an X-wing coming in, and then if you take away what we saw and just put them with other information, it could be anything. They might not have really picked up that it was Luke.
Right, exactly.
What did you guys make of the discussion of the deep fake versus the CGI technology that they use?
From what standpoint?
For the face. I mean, what did you? I was surprised when they were showing their experiments with the deep fake, how good it looked.
Yeah, it looked amazing.
I don't.
It wasn't finished, but it looked amazing.
Right. And I've seen deep fakes online, on YouTube of where people have done it themselves. Because like I said, deep fake technology, like he was saying in the show, it's everywhere. Anybody can download an app on your phone now and do deep fake stuff. but people have put it together where honestly I think it actually looks a little better than what they came up with. No insult to the hard work that they put in. They did a great job.
I almost feel like they played it safe.
Mhm.
And instead of going for hyper realism, they kind of went for this, I don't know how, like distilled version.
Almost like a pseudo realism.
Yeah, where they decided let's not go too far, because we're in a time now where people are video games and culture and effects and everything is all integrated. Everybody knows what they're looking at, and everybody's used to, everybody at a certain age plays video games and has characters and is used to CGI and stuff. So I almost feel like they just kind of kept it in the middle ground. Could have gone further, but that's why I always said when we watched it, I said I don't think it's totally finished. It's like I think they will go back and just do those few scenes with Luke,
like a la George
improve
Lucas,
I think they'll improve it when they get a chance to. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But I almost feel like that was a conscious choice. They didn't talk about it. But yeah, some of the deep fake was almost scary, like where it might have been almost shocking, and maybe they just felt like when they watched whatever and they had to choose between when they had to choose between different versions, they went, this one gives me the least kind of weird reaction or whatever, and hits all the marks still. Right, pun intended. But they did. Lucasfilm did hire that guy from YouTube who did the deep fake version of it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, he came out with a version that got millions of views or something, and he put them side by side. And I heard that Lucasfilm actually hired him, so they're not kidding around when they say faces are the hardest thing to do. You can get a job if you can show on your demo that you do it as good as their guy they have locked in a room. I felt bad for that guy.
It was real interesting the amount of attention they gave to the ethical ramifications of deep fake there. Almost a 5-minute discussion.
They really kind of went on for a long time on that. I thought that was interesting that they're really sort of kind of.
They were real concerned about it, it seems. So that's interesting.
Well, I mean, it makes a lot of sense because obviously we're going to eventually, the point that Jon Favreau made is that it's going to get to a point that you cannot tell the difference. The technology is going to get there. It's still emerging right now, and it's already fantastic.
It's going to be Disney doing it. I mean, they're not going to stop. They have so many properties. They have so many properties that they own that they're going to use this stuff on, that they know they're going to be addressing it every point of the way to make people feel more comfortable about them doing it. They've already done it. You're right. Everyone's gonna be doing it, but Disney in particular, I know they got to have plans. They got to be doing it right now. They have it going on right now.
Sure.
And will be advancing it. They just own so much stuff. They're going to be using characters from legacy things. They're going to be crossing over animation and real time stuff. And there's no telling what they have in the works. It's going to get crazy, What was that? Ready Player One, that movie kind of went into that territory a lot, where you're like, wow, it feels like every commercial I've ever seen is coming back. There'll be Super Bowl commercials with this stuff, everything. But
exactly.
I was really surprised too to hear how they did Mark Hamill's voice. I wondered about that when we watched.
Yeah, I was shocked by that.
I didn't
know if they tried to de-age his voice in some way, like they were actually using recording.
That's like their way of de-aging his voice, even.
I know they use the radio shows. It's pretty cool.
Old interviews.
I almost think they brought Mark in out of respect for him to get and just so they could do it. It's like we gotta see him in the room. We gotta hand him to Baby Yoda.
Exactly.
And also it's weird when you're promoting something after the fact. They did the same thing with the child. Like everybody wanted to buy the child merchandise, and there was none because they had to keep the secret.
Right.
So they didn't really use the child to promote the child. And they didn't really use Mark to promote this appearance. So after the fact, they're kind of reassuring people, he was there. We did film him. But it doesn't seem like a whole lot of that performance was in there. It was all part of an amalgamation. Like he was working with the other actor, they said, and the egg footage and everything. It's all very cool, but they could have done it without him, I think,
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like it was like, we can do this, so we're going to do it. And it obviously meant a lot to him, so I'm glad they did it that way.
I think it was a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, he wasn't just a witness sitting back when the
Right.
episode came out and going, well, let me watch what my character did, like reading a comic book, they're using
He
my
actually had an
likeness.
active part in it.
Yeah, but other artists drew me or whatever, and I had no input in
Right.
anything. Yeah, they actually took, I think, the way he delivered the lines and stuff and kind of worked that in. But this voice thing's very surprising. I had no.
Yeah.
I remember I even maybe said some stuff when we watched it the first time about his voice. Like, is that him?
Yeah.
Or is that not him? There's times where it's obviously him.
Yeah.
And then there was a few lines where it's like, I don't remember Mark
It
ever
can't
sounding
be an
quite
older
that way.
him.
Yeah.
It couldn't be an older him. So how did they do it? That was really interesting. I also want to say I would love to have had the job of those people that just got to look at Luke Skywalker's face all day. That was amazing.
Of course
just
you
looking
would.
at all of those faces. That's all.
Yeah.
Trying
That
to
one in the
study every
lower
expression.
left was really creepy though, where he was like, looked all
Yeah.
angry and rolling his eyes on Tatooine. It's like they just got a bad moment or something, like he's drunk behind the wheel of the land speeder, got
we
pulled
have-
over.
We have definitely found Gundark's dream job.
Yes, that's
Yes,
my job.
yeah.
That's my job.
I get paid to look at pictures of Mark Hamill all day.
all day.
It's like 7 hours looking at Mark Hamill's face, 30-minute lunch, 30-minute Harrison Ford's face,
there you go.
we'll,
That's
we'll
it.
work in some Indiana Jones stuff in the
That's
last
it.
half hour of the day.
Exactly.
You know they're
Perfect.
doing that right now. They're doing that right now. They're doing the
Oh.
same shit for Harrison and the new Indiana Jones stuff right now.
Sure.
I hope it comes out well.
Yeah.
But
yeah, exactly.
But again, that's another thing that struck me is when he brought up E.T. and Grogu and all that. It's very apt, and
Mhm.
of
Great
course you
comparison.
would think of that. It's a great comparison, but the E.T. ending is, in the E.T. movie itself, is its own thing. It's an 80s thing. I don't even think it held up 5 or 10 years later as well as it did in the moment. I remember watching it in the theater on a re-release and going, this doesn't strike me like it did, back then. I got older. It's not the movie's fault or anything. It's made for a certain age, but it kind of at the moment transcended all that. There was adults weeping in the theater at ET, and in the moment.
Right.
And so that 80s aesthetic of the super zoom to the not to say anything bad about John Williams' score, but everything being over the top to inform you how to feel.
Yeah.
I'd much rather in a show like The Mandalorian, which is more about minimalism a lot of times, I'd much rather have a moment where you're allowed to just feel for yourself, and I even liked Luke's theme, or the Force theme, however you want to look at it, being quiet. It didn't last very long. It picked its moment, and there's so many things they did right in that. I think
they
it
did.
will
And
hold up over time.
Kind of like you said, Greedo, it's like they let the scene breathe,
Yeah.
They let it, they didn't, like you said, they didn't shove it down our throats like a Spielberg style thing like they did with the ET, with all the, let's get the gratuitous, sappy, sad scenes of every single character saying goodbye or whatever, They just let the scene play out, It was literally, it's almost like you're watching a stage play at that point. It's just happening and the cameras are just catching it. Okay, well, let's get this reaction. Oh, let's change this angle, makes it sadder looking, that kind of a thing. And I just thought ultimately Peyton Reed did a phenomenal job on that. I think he did a great job. And then obviously we know him from Ant-Man movies, and hence why we had a giant ant creature in the cantina. But yeah, I thought he did a phenomenal job, and I always like that sort of reaction, kind of how I like to see how a professional approaches from the standpoint of a fan. You know what I mean? It's like, because they grew up with it. Like you said, he was 13 when Star Wars came out, which is roughly our age when the original film came out. And, so he's our generation. And, so he's looking back at it like, yeah, I'm a fanboy too, and here I am working with Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, pinch myself, but hey, I'm also a professional. I've got a job to do here. You can't just be geeking out and getting photographs and autographs. And
that's one thing that's awesome about this stuff, is that it's very clear that all these people love this stuff, like we do. And you want to feel jealous of them and their jobs and stuff, but you can't. It's like, and I like how thoughtful they were about everything. And one thing that struck me is, if you notice, there was a coming together, a consensus with the important people in the creative process.
Right.
That has not always happened, right? So I mean, in some of the stuff that's been more controversial, I think it's more driven by one or two people, one person, without a lot of input allowed from others, or taken into account. Maybe I'm speculating a little, but just from what I've seen. So when you see these guys willing to discuss and come up with the right thing, through consensus and respect for each other and stuff, they don't need to make Star Wars by committee, but they need to have people who are informed and passionate about it actually discuss it before they just throw money at it. Before they throw money at it, before they let one person just run away crazy with the ideas. I mean, Star Wars is different. It came from a super creative, maverick, individualistic place, but it has grown into this huge thing that has to be handled a little more carefully than that. Although I think you can still do that. But there aren't a lot of George Lucas out there. You know, we've been looking for years. I don't see them come along often, you know, that have that same effect on me. Yeah. So it's hard to know when to hand over those reins with this kind of property, especially, you know, as they move forward, they're going to be doing more and more stuff that's not based on things that we grew up with, everything like that. And so you're more open. I think you're more open to possibilities and taking chances. But anyway, I thought it was an interesting contrast, seeing how these people talk about it, as opposed to if you watch some of the other behind the scenes stuff, there's still, and I'm not trying to knock anyone really, because it was still reverence and the other things I've seen and all that, but it's just different. It's very different.
Well, I mean, and obviously the excerpt you're referring to from the behind the scenes was when, you know, Dave Filoni is describing, you know, his discourse with Jon Favreau about this whole thing. He's like, you know, had I decided that I didn't want it to be Luke, he would have been okay with that, and we would have figured out how to make it work. You know, that just kind of sums it all up right there. I think that this is why I guess I still have such faith in the future of Star Wars, is that it is in the hands of people like you just described, Greedo. It is in the hands of fans. It's not just some stuffed shirts, you know, looking at the bottom line, you know, in a boardroom somewhere. These are actual people that come from the same background we do, basically, as far as the fandom is concerned. And they want it to succeed as bad as we do. You know, they want, you know, they're the same, you know, they're going to put it together and do the work, but they're also going to be sitting in the front row of the theater watching it with us eating popcorn, you know.
And they're not, and they don't seem to be, they don't seem to be letting egos run away. They don't seem to be, I mean, the fact that they have a chemistry where they respect each other's opinion and say, when we have a consensus, it tends to work out well. That's paying attention. You know, that's learning from the people around you and learning what works and everything, instead of just saying my way or the highway or whatever the case may be. It's kind of like you can be Paul McCartney, okay, and put out the greatest music ever. But there's a difference between Paul McCartney with the Beatles, and there's a difference between a Paul McCartney solo album. You know, there was something necessary there with the collaboration with other people, the competition, the criticism. The fact that those people were his peers and could say to him, "You need to change this part. It sucks," you know, or something, and he listened. You know,
whereas on his own, you're not necessarily going to listen. You're not going to be as open-minded. Like, hey, I'm Paul McCartney. Has the
at a certain point,
you
earn your ability, just like Lucas did, to do your own vision, and you have the power to do it. Doesn't mean it's going to be better. You know, so you still need those conflicts from younger you who is struggling against things. You know, you have to have barriers to be pushing against. To get better. You know, and it's conflict sometimes creates these great things. So
it's a great point.
I always think it's amazing the things that people come up with when they have nothing. You know, when they have no budget, nothing laying around, they come up with the Millennium Falcon or whatever. You know, they come up with stuff that people try so hard it can never do. You know, even with a huge budget and stuff. So it's either there or it isn't. But
exactly.
Anyway, my biggest takeaway is I just want to see those scenes with Mark, with Mark's old voice. Mark's old self is great. I want to see that.
Exactly. That's great stuff. But I really enjoyed the whole episode. I thought it was really well done. I wish they'd just do more of them, kind of like they did in season 1, where they had about 8 of them. They've only had 2 so far for season 2. But yeah, I just really enjoyed the behind the scenes stuff, and just kind of get that peek behind the curtain that they give us in the interviews. And they just have such a great team. Ultimately, I know that's what we've been talking about a lot here. The whole team behind this show is phenomenal. Not just Star Wars as a whole, but The Mandalorian in particular, with John and Dave, and all this whole crew of directors that we've got working on, and the behind the scenes guys, guys like Matthew Wood and John Knoll and people like that who have been in the Star Wars realm for decades now. Nobody, none of these guys are new to anything Star Wars. So I love seeing them work. It's almost like I kind of get taken away, like when I see films of John Williams conducting. It just takes me to a different place. I love it, because he brought so much magic to Star Wars. I think we all agree that Star Wars would be a different thing without his score. And just to watch him work and do it, it's just like, oh, look, he's creating this music. It's just
it would be Harrison
really
Ford
like soundtrack of our lives.
Going bang, bang, bang. You remember the shot?
Yeah.
That's what Star Wars looks like without the
Bang,
cinematography
bang,
and the
bang.
sound effects and
Crickets,
the music.
crickets,
Bang, 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 and then running across the room and then busting into laughter.
Yeah,
They
clank,
know
clank,
this
clank,
is a
clank,
joke.
clank, clank.
R2 running into the wall or whatever, it's
I mean,
such a fine line.
Or we could just have the typical 70s, soundtrack, like a Barnaby Jones soundtrack or something.
Barnaby Jones.
Next week on Barnaby Jones.
Amanda shoots him in the arm.
Look, everyone's evacuating the Death Star. And there, it blew up. They made it to safety.
Exactly.
Tarkin, like, you disabled my Death Star, you kids.
Meddling
kids.
And they're like, ah.
Yeah.
Freeze. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great. Gundark, any other outstanding moments for you on that episode?
I think you were mentioning John Williams. I like the discussion of bringing the Force theme or the binary sunset theme in at that one moment. That was beautiful. And the last thing that struck me about it was Favreau talking about his pride in making something that the family could enjoy that tapped into the generational aspect of Star Wars, that continues to make it really valuable to people generation after generation. I thought that was cool. That was a moment where he also seemed close to tearing up again, where he felt like genuine pride in the product he was making, and that was very moving.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
What a career he's had in the last 20 years. Or the last even 15 years. It's insane. I mean, going from how he started and doing his own thing and stuff, and then getting into Marvel, which is another, kind of pop culture defining thing for a lot of people. It wasn't for me, but it is for a ton of people.
Right, same here, but a lot of people are.
Finding that incredible success there, and then getting into Star Wars, and now people just, his track record's amazing so far. And people just kind of disregarded The Lion King. Like, whether they didn't like it, it's like, oh well, he's still phenomenal. But it's like The Lion King was another stepping stone with the technology and the ideas and everything like that. One thing that I've always, this is a different discussion a little bit, but one thing that blows my mind is when you see behind the scenes stuff or anything like that. How do I compare this? Like, look at the old Buck Rogers TV show, okay?
Yeah.
Or Battlestar Galactica, but it's specifically Buck Rogers. You know how Buck Rogers just looked like it was in like a waiting room or something with some silver stuff hanging, and it just looked like really unbelievable cheap. You know what I mean? It just looked Buck Rogers, and and you can practically hear their feet on the plywood and stuff. You know what I mean? It's that's a lot of times when you see behind the scenes stuff on movies and things, it looks like that. You're like, it's kind of like the difference between the Ewok movies and the Return of the Jedi. There's just night and day. One is
like
believable
behind the
and
scenes,
one is completely
like a TV movie.
And so how do they do that? How do they go from looking at dailies that probably look like that to a movie that is consistent across all the different sets and everything, and draws you into this world where you're not going, oh my God, is the wall going to fall over behind you or whatever, and also now my thought now is it really seems like you're getting less and less of that with these Disney Star Wars things, because they're putting them in these sets that are completely interactive with the whole
Right.
environment and everything. You even when you're looking at it in 2D, when they're shooting it from across the room, not even trying to frame it properly, it's hard to tell the difference. You know, it looks like you can't tell exactly where the room ends a lot of times. You can start to from the angles and things, but it must just be, anyway, that it seems like that's all getting crazy better to the point where it must be such an advantage now and everything.
Oh yeah.
And anyway, it's all that stuff boggles my mind, because I know if I tried to make a movie, it would look like Conjures, you know, because I would not know how to do the magic dust or whatever.
I would definitely
to transform it.
Yeah, I would ultimately produce the Battle for Endor.
Right.
Be my epic movie.
I would be praying for Battle of Endor quality levels, you know. It's like, anyway, it's just funny. And there's certain things like in the old Star Wars footage when they're in Pinewood, the sets are massive, and you can't fake that, you know, that when they're on the Death Star and stuff, it looks cool, but it still looks like it's from the 70s. You know, it just looks the costumes even look crappier and stuff, you know. You can
and then suddenly you see the final version.
Yeah, you see the final version, and a whole lot of
that's
that's gone.
Where's the magic pixie dust coming from?
Yeah. And a lot of that maybe is just the film conversion to when we were kids. It was large format film and stuff. But
yeah, I think that's a lot to do with it, because obviously the cameras they're using to film the behind the scenes footage are not
different.
The cinematic cameras that they're using to capture the image
of the
film itself.
Yeah, it's very good point.
It's like using a handheld, 8mm versus a 35mm film camera.
Yeah. And I think in the last 20 years, they went down this road of making everything dark so that you can get away with all,
it's more forgiving. Like you said,
it's more forgiving, and they made these movies that are just all the action scenes happen at night for some reason. You know, they're totally confusing and stuff, and so that the CGI and all the different things are kind of covered up. Now, like when they were talking about the Marvel de-aging stuff, they had what's her name, Michelle Pfeiffer, just right there in close up with fully lit, and you can see the flaws, but it's part of the suspension disbelief. You have that contract when you go see a movie like that.
I bought into it, I bought into the fact that
there's no reason if the movie's good. It can look a little, you're not seeing her at 30 years old,
right? You know how old she is. She's not 40 years old.
And there is some uncanny valley, but to enjoy the movie, you go, this is where we're at, and I'm going to suspend disbelief as long as they give me a good product,
Yeah.
And anyway, I find all that interesting, but my main takeaway is I want to see Mark, and I want to see Mark in this. And I would have been cool if they had gone, are you a Jedi? And he said, that time portal almost ripped my X-Wing apart. If it had just been Mark, and he just said something like that. R2, is the time portal stable? Okay, well, we only have minutes. Give me the child. Will he be safe? He'll be in the fucking future. All the fascism is gone. Yes, he'll be safe as hell. I would have been fine with that if I had gotten Mark now. They didn't need to do all this shit for me. I would totally not care about their explanation at all.
With you there.
Yeah, Moff Gideon could have invented a fucking time machine and had Luke captive, and he thaws out and comes out and kicks ass. I don't care, as long as the character itself has integrity with everything else. And I'm so I love Mark so much that I will gladly give him. To me, Star Wars is worthless if you're not letting the original people do what they want to do. I mean, not worthless, but you have to do that.
But I know what you mean. Yeah.
For me, we're from a specific thing. We saw this. We have loyalty to these characters and actors and stuff.
Storylines.
Yeah. So I'd have been fine with anything. I wouldn't want to throw the whole Mandalorian under the bus or anything, but I'm kind of exaggerating. But they did it fine. But a part of me, if I was going to criticize anything, I would have just been like, just let it fly. Just let Mark do it. Advance the technology elsewhere. You can smooth a few wrinkles if you want, I guess, but what's wrong with letting the guy just play, just let the guy play the character. It's fine.
Yeah, because that's when I nearly lost it. Is the first images they showed of him in the Black Jedi outfit, picking up Baby Yoda. I was like, that's Mark Hamill, that's Luke.
But I appreciate everything they did and that they brought him in and all that stuff and very cool stuff.
Yeah, phenomenal.
It's amazing that these great post-production videos they can do and release. It's like these extra treats that we get. All of them have been good and worth watching. And I'm sure they're keeping a lot of secrets still, but they're remarkably transparent with their process and everything, which is interesting because it can. I think we're in that post-magic era where everybody knows the smoke and mirrors, and it's harmless to let people know about it. Yeah, it doesn't ruin the experience for anyone anymore. Like maybe it used to,
it's like knowing how the magic trick is done, and it still surprises you and gets that reaction out of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Yeah, but man, we were so surprised.
The first time. Yeah, that was unbelievable. So good.
We were also convinced that would never happen. Because I was sitting there saying, we were discussing which Jedi, like, well, Luke makes the most sense, but they wouldn't do that, right?
They would never do that. Yeah,
we didn't even really talk about it.
I was still pretty convinced it was going to be Mace Windu.
Even as it was happening on the screen in front of us, you didn't want to accept it. You know, like
as soon as they said X-Wing, I was like, wait a minute. And then when I saw R2, I swear to God, I saw R2 on the back.
I did too.
Is that R2? But then it still could have been anyone that Luke said. I could have been his apprentice. You're like, go take, you're my trusted apprentice. Take my ship, take my droid.
What would have been the point of that?
I don't know if it had been somebody other character or something.
You just couldn't believe it.
I just couldn't believe it. No, that's
you would rather believe something that was less believable than believe that because that was so unbelievable.
Let's get it straight. I would not rather believe. I was incapable of believing anything.
No.
Because it's such a big swing. I was praying it was Luke. Even
me too.
At times I thought it was like, oh my God, it'd be so fucking awesome if it was him.
Yeah, I just didn't want to get my hopes up and then have him dashed. I
didn't
want to buy in.
Not
like,
only that,
it's Luke. Oh crap!
It just seemed impossible. It just seemed like such a big swing. The show, it wasn't about those huge things so far. It was not making huge statements. It was a very specific kind of slow burn story with certain action pieces and stuff. It just didn't seem to fit. And but I thought it when they said the title, The Rescue. I have no idea why, but it flashed in my head. I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you. And I didn't even say it. I stopped myself from saying it because we were watching it. And I was like, I went, and you guys went, what? And I said, nothing. I'll tell you later. It can't be right. and then I still couldn't. It's like I was doubting Tomas through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, until I see that robotic hand.
Oh wow, that's so good.
But yeah, how crazy would it have been if the suit and everything and we pulled it up and it was somewhere else.
Exactly. Plo
Koon.
It is I, Jimmy, Luke Skywalker's apprentice.
I'm the guy that gets Lucas coffee.
So not appearing in this film.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, okay. Well, any final thoughts, guys?
I think that's it. That was a wonderful episode.
That was really well done. Yeah, I enjoyed that. They do a really great job on the behind the scenes as well.
I'm glad they spent so much time on the Luke part because it was supposed to be about the whole episode. They could have done a lot more about the whole episode. This is what I was most interested in.
Yeah, we wanted to see this.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you're right. The whole episode was dedicated to it. All right, well, that's it for this week. Leave your comments down below, hit like, subscribe to us so you can get notifications when we get new videos up for you. And we'll love to hear what you think about all this stuff going on right now, and what are your expectations of the next season of Mandalorian. All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Scum and villainy, it's a wretched hive. But life ain't always teddy bears, fireworks, and high fives. The folks round here don't care for sand. Stick around long enough, you'll be lucky just to lose a hand. Singing yum num, raise your glass and sing yum num. Cantina Club.
Next week we all ought to find younger actors to to play us. And then we should put our dialogue into some kind of computerized voice encoder.
This was the Traitor at age 14.
De-aged
I
Gundark.
am Carillion Traitor. I am happy with this Disney product. It is good enough for me.
It makes
I
me
am
happy.
Greedo. I am not happy.
I am not happy.
I'm not happy.
This new product must be returned.